Alright, you guys, so when I did the first four videos, I forgot to expand a little more on the senses, on the seven sense. I wanted to talk about a little more of the sixth sense and the seventh sense. And I also wanted to talk about a little more um, on the stages of life. There's four stages of life. I really wanted to talk about a little more on the fourth stage because I believe I didn't really talk about death, which is the fourth stage.
Hello guys, today we're gonna be learning about our senses. You're wondering what are our senses? Right now we're gonna teach you what are our senses, and then I'm gonna tell you. We have four senses in our face: ears to hear, mouth to taste, nose to smell, and eyes to see. And the last one is fingers to touch. So now that I told you the five senses, now my dad is gonna tell you what are the sixth sense and the seventh sense. Using our five senses, we're gonna talk about these items, and then my dad is gonna talk about those, and we're gonna explore.
Okay, Roger, using our five senses, we're going to explore these items. What is the first one over here?
This?
Yes.
No.
It's a shoe?
No.
It's not a shoe? What is it?
A shoe?
Okay, can you smell it? You don't want to, huh? Smells yucky? Okay, yeah, what is this? Flowers?
Yeah.
Do you want to smell it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that smells good, right? All right. Can you see all of them using your eyes?
Yeah.
Can you smell all of them using your nose?
Yeah.
Can you taste all of them using your mouth?
Yes. Yeah.
No, you don't want to taste the shoe.
Mm,
Okay, Axel, using your five senses, can you see all of them?
Yes.
Okay, can you smell all of them?
Yeah. No.
Yes. Is there one you don't want to smell? Which one you don't want to smell?
Shoe.
Okay. Axel, can you hear any of these?
No, but we could hear one. This is called as nature. We could hear all the birds, and it's in the wilds, and it makes oxygen for us.
Very good.
And the second one, this is perfume. We could hear it and smell it.
Very good. Hello, you guys. So I'm gonna tell you about the sixth sense and the seventh sense. The sixth sense is pretty much a gut feeling. Is well known as the sixth sense, which is also known as your intuition. Okay, so pretty much on the sixth sense, on all the senses, it has good and it has bad. So it's pretty much like positive and negative. Of course, it's not energy, but anything you do, it has, whenever you make a decision, it has a good option and it also has a bad option. So on the sixth sense, for example, a way to explore that is if you, are dating somebody and go on a first date, you can pretty much get a sense of a feel of that person's, you know, energy towards you. You can say, I feel good about this person and I think we're a good match. As a matter of fact, some people could say, I feel like I found love at first sight. So that's a way to explore the sixth sense in a positive way, okay? A negative way is if you're walking down the street and all of a sudden somebody comes up behind you and say, hey, this is a stick up, give me all your money. So that's like in a negative way you can experience the sixth sense because it's pretty much a sudden feeling that you were not prepared for it, okay? Also, another good way is when you're surprised and you get to your house and everybody's inside and they say, hey, happy birthday. So you were not expecting that. So that's another way how you can experience it in a good feeling, okay? Or in a positive way. Okay, so I really believe that the seventh sense is the most important one because the seventh sense, it pretty much takes all the other senses and grabs them to make a decision. And this decision, it's going to be a constructive decision or a destructive decision. Okay, so when we, for example, created this car, we use our intelligence and instructions to put this car together. And it takes pretty much a while to put it together. So you need patience and you need to follow instructions. But to make a bad decision, sometimes it's out of anger or is because you want revenge from somebody else. But most of the time we take a destructive decision is because we are not in our seven senses. We are either under the influence of a drug or we are under, you could say, the influence of, resentment, hate, and negative thoughts. So it takes a second just to say, I'm gonna destroy this car and boom, break it, okay? And that's it, is destruction. But it takes a long time to construct something. So, someone can trust you for a long time, a loved one, and you can do something bad to them. And all the trust that you built with them for years and years, it could be gone in seconds, okay? Okay, so the free will, it's pretty much the seventh sense, because free will, it was given to us by God. I honestly believe that our free will could never be taken away from us. Um, the only time that will be taken us from us is if we're in captivity, you know what I mean, or we're kidnapped. But pretty much the free will is extremely important, and we have to take in consideration all the seven senses to make a decision so we can exercise our free will the right way. Um, some people will say, well, why God allows evil in this earth. Well, unfortunately to me, I don't think God allows that, nor does the devil. It's in charge of that free will. So whenever there's bad stuff in the world, for example, there's certain instances where it really seems unfair. You know, like from the moment we're conceived, we can pretty much die a minute or two later, um, or we could die, after 100 years old. The point is that everything that has a cause has an effect. It doesn't just happen just because. You know what I mean? So, um, if there's a kid that is born and he's paralyzed and he cannot walk, and you could say, how could God allow that? But if you really, study what happened, you're gonna realize that mom had an accident when she was 3 months old, the baby, and that affected his spinal cord of the development of the baby, or that the mother was using drugs and that affected him somehow. So if you really dig into it, he's not just gonna be born paralyzed for no reason. There has to be a reason why it happened. So if you dig into it, you're eventually gonna find out that things have a cause and have an effect. So for example, death is the fourth stage of life. You know what I mean? um, I pretty much divided, but that was just my idea. It doesn't mean it's true, but life, from the moment we're conceived all the way to 17 years old, you could say that's the first stage of life. The second stage is from 18 to 24, which is the time that we should be studying to get a career and to educate ourselves to be ready for life in the future. The third stage should be from 25 to 30, and that's the time that you still continue to educate yourself for life. But that's pretty much one of the times where most people that do desire to have a partner, that they're gonna say, well, I'm gonna look for a partner that has most of the things that I want to do in life and respect my beliefs and my religion, if you have a religion. But there's people that say, well, I don't want to have a partner, which is perfectly fine. You don't have to have a partner, but you could still prepare for life to have a good future. And then the fourth stage of life, which is the one I was just telling you about, that is pretty much death. Death, it's the only one that you cannot negotiate. When it comes, it comes. So that's why it's extremely important that you talk to your kids and you let them know that they need to be prepared about death, because it could happen at any given point and it could happen to anybody. Normally, we're used to that we're gonna bury our grandfather, our grandmother, and then, our parents, and then us, but we're not prepared to bury our kids. But that's the thing, it could happen at any given point, and it's just part of life. And the more you talk to them about this, the better they will understand. And whenever it happens, they're gonna be prepared. They're not gonna say or be rebellious on God and say, God, why did you do this to me? No, I tell my kids that instead of doing that, and if my son is 8 years old and I passed away, I'm not gonna tell him to say, get angry against God. No, you tell him and say, God, thank you for allowing me to have a father for 8 years. I enjoy the time that you allowed me to have a father. So this is extremely important. They would understand that the free will is extremely powerful. Not only is the 7 cents, but it's a gift that God gave to us, and it's a sin for us as kids or humans to take our life even on hard times, because that should never be the answer. Even if you didn't believe in God, if nature created you, what makes you think that nature created you just to take your life away? No, nature created you for you to do something in this life. Thank you, guys.